The Hope Diamond, the curse that outlived empires. There are jewels worth millions. There are jewels that become symbols of entire eras. And then there are those that seem to watch history itself, silently, coldly, almost knowingly, as if they understand people better than people understand themselves. The Hope Diamond is one of those stones. It is not just a rare blue diamond weighing 45.52 carats. It is a story of colonial ambition, royal power, revolutions, bankruptcies, rumors, tragedies, and above all, humanity's fascination with curses. Today, it rests behind glass at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, displayed like a quiet museum artifact. But if you trace its path backward, one thing becomes clear. This stone was never merely an ornament. It has always been a witness to eras, to change, and to human illusion. And to understand why so many myths surround it, we need to return to where it all began, India in the 17th century. India. The beginning of the legend, the story of the Hope Diamond, begins where many legendary stones originate, in India. Most historians believe it was discovered in the famed Golconda mines, a region that produced some of the purest diamonds ever found. And it is here that the first cinematic version of the story appears. According to a popular legend, the diamond once formed the eye of a Hindu temple statue. The French traveler Jean-Baptiste Tavernier supposedly stole it, after which misfortune began to follow him. Historians remain cautious about this claim. There is little solid evidence. But something more important happened. From the very beginning, an aura of danger began to surround the stone. What we do know is that Tavernier brought an enormous blue diamond to France, weighing around 112 carats. It became known as the French Blue, and from that moment, the stone stopped being a piece of nature and became a piece of politics. Louis XIV, the king who wanted eternity. In 1668, the diamond was purchased by Louis XIV, the Sun King, a monarch who built Versailles, crafted a cult of power, and understood that symbols could be more powerful than armies. The diamond was recut, reducing its size but intensifying its brilliance. It became part of the royal regalia and was worn on the king's chest, a glittering emblem of absolute authority. And here lies a paradox. The more France displayed luxury, the more tension grew beneath the surface. After Louis's death, the country drifted toward financial crises, wars, and social unrest. Of course, these were consequences of politics and economics, but people have always preferred mystical explanations. And so, the whisper of a curse began to take shape. Not yet a belief, but a rumor echoing through aristocratic circles. Then, against the backdrop of rising chaos, the diamond disappeared. The French Revolution and the disappearance, 1792. Paris burns with unrest. Crowds storm the royal treasury, and the illusion of untouchable monarchy collapses. The regalia vanish. The French blue is gone. For decades, this moment remains one of the most mysterious chapters in the diamond's history. Many researchers believe the stone was recut to disguise its identity and avoid recognition. If that theory is true, this is when it transformed into what we now know as the Hope Diamond. Smaller, but no less extraordinary. History seems to pause here, only to resume later in England, where the stone gains a new name and a new destiny. The Hope family and a new identity. In the early 19th century, the blue diamond appears in England and enters the collection of banker Henry Philip Hope. From this moment, it becomes the Hope Diamond. The name sounds ironic, Hope, because it is during this period that rumors of misfortune begin to follow the stone more persistently. The Hope family's wealth gradually declines, and financial troubles become part of their narrative. Coincidence? Perhaps. But this is also when newspapers begin turning the diamond into a character, not just an object, but a figure in serialized stories. The more it was written about, the more its legend grew, and the idea of a curse began to function as perfect marketing. The curse as marketing. By the early 20th century, the diamond passed through multiple owners. With each new transfer, the stories grew darker. A Turkish sultan loses power. Aristocrats face ruin. Rumors of tragedy follow the gem wherever it goes. It is important to note that many of these stories lack solid documentation. Yet, journalists and jewelers actively amplified the myth. Why? Because fear sells better than facts. In this way, the Hope Diamond became one of the earliest examples of media-driven mythology surrounding luxury. Long before the age of social media, and into this narrative stepped a woman determined to prove that curses were nothing more than superstition. Evelyn Walsh McLean, the woman who defied the curse. In 1911, the diamond was purchased by American heiress Evelyn Walsh McLean. She wore it boldly at balls, dinners, even at home. For her, it was not a symbol of danger, but a charm of fortune. Yet her life would become tragically complicated. The death of her son, her daughter's mental illness, the loss of her husband. Newspapers immediately connected these events to the curse. But if you widen the lens, tragedies were not uncommon among wealthy families of that era. The difference was that not everyone wore a legendary diamond around her neck. And after her death, the stone story took another unexpected turn. Harry Winston, the jeweler who changed its fate. The diamond was acquired by legendary jeweler Harry Winston. Instead of locking it away in a private collection, he made a decision that transformed the stone's narrative forever. He donated it to the Smithsonian Institution, and he sent it by regular mail. One of the world's most famous diamonds traveled in a small package worth only a few dollars in postage. The gesture was a master stroke of public relations. The diamond ceased to be a symbol of private luxury and became part of public cultural heritage. While people debated curses, scientists began asking a different question. Where did its color come from? Why is it blue? The diamond's blue hue is caused by the presence of boron atoms within its crystal lattice, an extremely rare occurrence. Modern research suggests the stone formed more than 600 kilometers beneath Earth's surface, far deeper than most diamonds. In other words, the Hope Diamond is literally a messenger from the planet's depths, a mineral that existed for millions of years before entering human history. And within this contrast of cold science and heated legend lies its true power, theories and myths. Some believe the curse was invented by jewelers to increase its value. Others argue that the tragedies associated with it are simply statistical coincidence. The lives of wealthy people are always under public scrutiny. Yet there are still those who feel the stone carries a mysterious energy. The story of the Hope Diamond reflects human psychology. We connect random events into patterns and search for meaning, even where there may be none. And still, the legend refuses to fade. Why this diamond became a legend Koh-i-Noor represents politics. Cullinan represents scale. But hope is a thriller disguised as history. It survived kings, revolutions, empires, and billionaires. Each generation tried to explain its power through fate, mysticism, or fear. Perhaps the real power of the stone lies elsewhere. It reveals how people transform a piece of carbon into a symbol of their deepest anxieties and desires. Today, millions of visitors gaze at the Hope Diamond through museum glass. It no longer belongs to kings or participates in intrigue, but the legend of the curse remains. And maybe that is why the diamond continues to captivate. Because deep down, people want to believe that objects have personality, that history leaves traces, that the past can still be seen yet if you look closely enough. The Hope Diamond is more than a jewel. It is a story about how fear, power, and the longing for immortality can turn a mineral into myth. And strangely enough, it is the myth that makes it truly eternal.